Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to do an unboxing and review of the UGreen Revodok 1061 6-in-1 USB-C adapter. I'll be testing it with an iPad Pro from 2018 along with a Nintendo Switch. I also did try it on a Mac Studio and an iPhone 16 Plus, and it worked on those as well. Okay, let's start by taking a look at the box. So on the front we've got an image of the dock itself, an HDMI logo on that side, nothing much on the bottom, nothing much on this side either, nothing on the top, some specifications and details about the manufacturer, and that's it. So let's open it up. Nice slide out tray. So on the top we've got what appears to be the instruction manual. Don't really need that. User instruction guide, which is just compliances. And here's the adapter. Get rid of that. You see it's the UGreen Revodok branding on the top. Then we have two USB-A 3.2 10 gig ports along with a Type-C 10 gig port, a 1 gig Ethernet port, an HDMI port that can do 4K at 60, and a power delivery port for power in at 100 watts max. And then we've got a hardwired connection to the PC or whatever it is you're connecting to, and that cable's about 20 centimeters or 8 inches just over in length. I'll just go through the specifications of the adapter. There's one USB-C 3.2 port that does up to 10 gigabits per second. There's no display support available on that port. Then we've got two USB-A 3.2 ports. Those do up to 10 gigabit per second again. Then we have a 1 gigabit Ethernet port that uses a ASIC AX88179B chipset. Then we have one HDMI port that can do up to 4K at 60 Hz. And then one USB Type-C port that does power delivery 3 for up to 100 watts of power. There's no video or data support on this port. And then the cable that connects to the laptop, desktop, tablet or phone is a hardwired 20 centimeter or just over 8 inches in length cable with a USB-C connector at the end. Okay, let's begin with the Nintendo Switch. So I've got it hooked up to a monitor via HDMI, got power adapter and Ethernet connected. We can see that the Ethernet port's wired up and working fine with the Switch. Just going to use a Joy-Con to maneuver around the menus. So we can see it's charging as well. You can use the Switch Pro controller on any of the USB ports on the one side that supports data, so the USB-C and the USB-A ports both work with that Pro controller wired. Now in terms of power consumption, we're looking roughly at about 14.9 volts, 0.5 to 0.65 amps, so roughly just under 10 watts of power in use whilst it's charging the Switch up. Okay, moving on to the iPad testing. I've got a USB stick attached this time, and we're going to start there. So I've got the Files app open currently on the iPad, and as you can see, the USB stick there is attached. So it's just a macOS Sequoia installation disk. I can create folders on there so it's writable. And I can also delete it as well. So no compatibility issues there. It is formatted in a Mac native format, so bear that in mind. I'll just disconnect it and gone. So now moving on to a keyboard and mouse check. So you see the keyboard works. That's perfectly fine. The mouse also works. And we're going to check the Ethernet adapters showing. So as you can see at the top, we've got Ethernet, then the chipset, and then we can see that it's got an IP address. No issue with the Ethernet connector. And as for power, we're talking about 14.9 volts again, and roughly between 1.5 and I think I've seen 1.6 on there as well, but it's roughly around 22 watts. And just to add to that, everything works on an iPhone as well. I tested it with an iPhone 16 Plus, and I had the exact same experience on that as well. So I'll just summarize the test results. So for the Nintendo Switch, you see that the HDMI out port works fine, and that was at 1080p. Ethernet, that also works fine. Keyboard and mouse is not supported, as is storage. And then for power draw, it was getting around 10 watts of power, but it will consume more when playing a game. And then lastly, the Switch Pro controller, when used wired, works fine on both the USB-C and USB-A port. For the iPad Pro 2018, the HDMI works at 1080p again. Ethernet, that works as well. Keyboard and mouse, that is supported, so that works fine. Storage, again, that works fine. And the power draw was around 22 watts at 14.9 volts and 1.46 amps. The Switch Pro controller was not tested on the iPad Pro. And for the iPhone, it's basically the same as the iPad Pro. The only difference being is the amount of power it can draw. In this case, it was 8.5 watts at 5 volts, 1.9 amps. And just for reference, the iPad was running iPadOS 18 and the iPhone was running iOS 18. So in conclusion, the adapter does as I expected it to, and it'll be useful for using with my iPad if I ever need to add additional ports or connect it to a monitor, or maybe even need a wired Ethernet connection. So it's all in one adapter. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.